or proof of concept pieces, kind of bridging the gap between design and engineering. So that's also a career field too. Or you can also be a content strategist where you write all the descriptions on like what the button's named, all the copy on the website, and manage basically all the media you see and design. So definitely all these types of careers can be involved in UX. And so how you can get started, and also go deep dive into how I personally got started and some resources along the way towards the second half of this presentation. But how you can get started and how I personally got started is learning fundamentals, basically what design thinking is, what you guys are doing right now. And I personally took a free online class. And once you learn the fundamentals, how product is made, I'll keep practicing. So I spend the most time in this part where I actually joined 10 hackathons in 2020 for the first half of 2020, so I can practice making products, thinking up solutions, and working with the team, and also doing some freelance work as well. So practicing and also improving in design tools. So practicing is really, really important as well, going back to that. Not only because in design, the biggest mistake I see myself make as a beginner, and also a lot of other people new to design make, is that they feel like they have to keep reading or keep learning, and then they have permission to keep designing. But design is actually it's really a mindset. It's a mindset about solving problems. You're never too early to start design. Like anybody can start design right away. You can just like keep reading up on trends to learn more, but you don't need to like finish a different course so you can start designing. You can start designing anytime. And then after that, definitely the process of having a problem and thinking through a solution is that mindset. It's most important. And then you don't have to be a master of Figma or master any design tool to start designing. The most importantly is your thinking, your mindset, how you think through solutions, how you explain your process and everything. And then you want to focus on improving design tools, learning the latest tricks and tools of Figma, like auto layout variants, components, things like that. But that's not the most important thing. Most important thing is your thinking, your mindset, your way of thought, critical thinking skills. And then you want to improve on design skills. And then along the way, I put feedback twice because this is super, super important. You want to have feedback on your work. Get feedback. That's how you actually learn what you're missing. And getting a mentor also helps a lot as well to fill in gaps in your knowledge. So you know what you're missing, and keep iterating and keep getting feedback along the way too. So you know you're on the right path. And this is how you learn design, and how I personally learned design without a design degree. I'm working as a full-time designer, and I spent $0 taking majoring in design. My major is engineering, so I spent $0 learning design. I didn't go to any boot camps. I simply self-taught myself by doing these few steps. And so more and more deeply, like kind of going more deeper into what UX designer does. For me, my role, I mostly focus a lot on strategy and content, looking at a lot of competitor analysis, also work really closely with user research, sometimes being involved in that, looking at product strategy and content development. I also do a lot of wireframing and prototyping. So this is kind of like the ideating, making sure that I'm but addressing the correct problem space. And then next I wireframe a prototype, test it out, and then also coordinate with engineers, the UI designers and developers to basically ship it and track goals and test it out and execute the product. So basically, I'm very involved closely with design thinking, and that's why I decided to go through that whole thinking first, just because so many people are involved in it, and that's what basically I do every day. And I have this whole slide for this because you really need to balance business goals and user needs. They're equally as important, because without the users, you don't have a business. But if you don't have the business, you don't have the users. That's why you need to consider improving user experience, but also think of ways you can market your app and make money. Because without money, you don't have anything. But without users, you don't have money. And so that's why it's so important to really, really address both of these in every single project. And so UX, UI design, and user needs are, you typically collaborate with UX researchers to find out more, and the business goals, you collaborate with product managers to learn more. And now I'll talk about UI design, and then I'll head to my journey. And so UI design is the user interface design. So after, this typically happens when you do UI design, you typically do it after you've finished all your UX or have it to its ready phase. So UX is mostly like products development, research, content and layout, all the information, architecture and hierarchy. And UI design is the extra color and the extra skin on top of the skeleton, where you make things more attractive and have it, and just like basically guiding users through visual elements like color and typography, and align with branding and all that, the look and feel. basically visually guiding users through and making sure the experience is really intuitive and really visually pleasing. And UI design includes a lot of things, like colors, type, icons, imagery, spacing, branding, visual design, graphic design, and they work really, really closely with the UX. So a lot of things you can consider as well. So it's like design theory and a little more closely with graphic design. And it's really, really important to not only have your product actually solve the problem, but also make it look pretty and also really visually appealing to the user, because you can acquire more users that way, align with your brand, or like align with the company's mission, and instill trust with the users. And usually start UI kind of later down the product line when you are, after you've tested it out, you want to make your final iterations and you want to think about the UI. So you want to get the whole idea first down, your whole concept of your app and whole app down, and then you'll think about how it wants to look and feel. And yeah, so after that, you'll definitely start UI design too. And then UI designers specifically, they care a lot about the look and feel of the product. So they look at similar apps, do some research. They also get involved in a lot of the branding and graphic development and looking at user journey. So tying in a lot of user experience and also more branding and graphic design instead of the flow of the product. And they also focus, sometimes UI designers can be more engineering focused, where they collaborate with engineers to build components and making them responsive and interactive. And so I think Susho said we'll take a question break and then we will head to my journey. So yeah, we can also do that too. So feel free to let me know any questions, and then I'll take a deeper dive into my journey and how I came from anime art to bioengineering to game development and then now design. So yeah, I can also take questions at the end. So either way works.
So Grace, that was a really good first half of the session. Really insightful.
Thank you.
So
Thank
the
you.
one question which I have is, how do you get the initial data to build your design? So
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
so if you have an audience set, then obviously there's going to be some bias into it, right? Like when I was making a product, when I was making a note-taking app, I went to most of my friends, and most of them were computer engineers. So I got a biased audience set in my user research. So how do you tackle that while gathering data for your UX research?
Yeah, for sure. So I try to ask a wide variety of people. I'm trying to think of an example that I can share. Like most of the projects I worked on are unfortunately under NDA, but I'll just be very broad in this example, but I was designing an experience to have to plan the back to work plan for employees. And I just like asked every single type of employee. I guess like to reduce bias, definitely reach out to different target groups um, and things like that, just to get as much diverse data as possible. And yeah, so as long as I post my survey in different places, or yeah, are you asking for just like how do you get more people to answer your user research surveys?
Yeah. So
Oh yeah.
whenever students are like building a product,
Mm-hmm.
whom should they go to get their data from, or how
Oh
should they
yeah.
gather it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually a great question, because that's actually a big struggle I personally went through. So the example I'll other give, that like the non-EA example, is actually for a hackathon example where I wanted to design an experience to make it easy for people to keep track of their LinkedIn connections. I actually posted on LinkedIn, and this is the one thing I did to get over 200 responses in 2 days. I said that my team is designing a product to help you keep track of your connections on LinkedIn, because I framed the pitch of the survey as something as a product to help people. People were more inclined to answer it. And we did launch the product, and I did post it on LinkedIn as a Chrome extension I made with my team. So just frame it in a way that you're designing a product to help you. It also doesn't have to be a real product. Like I definitely did the other design challenges. One other example is like I did a design challenge where I had to design like a meal subscription for people who are 60 plus. And so I don't know anyone in my network who is over 60 years old. And so I would ask, I would look at Facebook and search 60 plus and join these Facebook groups and post a survey and pretend I'm actually making a service for them.
Oh wow!
I would just like say, we are designing an app to help you, and just like focus it about the user and just say like,
Right.
we need your feedback because we're trying to help you. And that helped get a lot of responses. And also mentorship. I also did another mentorship app. I also did that, like, yeah, I'm designing something to help you, or maybe and even if I'm never like publishing a product, I would also like publish my findings in some way. So I'll try to think about how I can like help to benefit the person who's doing the survey and then do it from there. So hopefully that helps. Like joining Facebook groups and frame it to helping you.
Got it. So the secret is actually making your pitch or use the argument that this is for you. This is going to be all
Yeah.
about you,
Yeah.
all about the user.
Exactly.
That's the secret sauce.
Yeah.
So any more questions, guys? Just wait a minute for if there are any questions.
Cool. Yeah. I can also I can also take more questions at the end as well, or answer them at the same time.
All right.
Cool. Should I start again?
Oh, all right. Maybe we should
Okay.
go. Okay.
Cool. I'm gonna share another part of my
Oh, we have
screen.
one question.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you give a short roadmap for game design?
Yeah, I can. Actually, I have a case study, but this is kind of outside the scope of this presentation. So this is focused on UX and product design. But I'll link in a chat for the case study of what I did. I actually designed this virtual reality game, and then I talked about my process and how I designed it. It's definitely, I never worked as a game designer as a profession, so this is actually me designing my whole game from scratch in 2018 when I was starting out. So yeah, so that's how I did. I don't actually have a deck or presentation, but the process is really similar. Where I'll just briefly talk through Selfie, which y'all have the link below. So I wanted to create a game to gamify education because I started with the problem first, and I realized that like classes are not very engaging at all, and it'll be fun. And I love playing games, so it'll be fun to blend both the two. And I really love biology because all the cells interact. I feel like it has such a cool story to tell in how the cells interact, how these chemical reactions worked. And I thought I'll integrate my love for biology, my interest in anime and games, and make a game out of it. And so that's how Selfie was born. It's called Selfie, CELLFIE, pronounced selfie, like you're taking a selfie, like a picture of yourself. And because it can become a cell in virtual reality. You learn about the cell by becoming a cell. And yeah, that's how I basically started. I started from a problem and then thought of ways I can gamify it and design a game. And then after I narrowed down the problem and the game idea, I thought of some core game mechanics. And so I have like exploration, quests, ways the user can interact with it. And I started just like expanding upon that and doing some testing and just building in public and getting feedback along the way too. I built in my VR lab and people came by, asked them to give me feedback on my game. So feedback, starting from problem, core game mechanics, and building the game, and a lot of testing with people and iterating upon that too. And so that's essentially a TLDR of how I started doing game design, but later decided to go into UI UX design specifically. But game design is another big field too.
I hope that answers your question, Vedant. But yeah, a common thing which I'm seeing across all the whole talk is that we should be able to define a problem scope, and once that's figured out, then you can actually start building upon it.
Yeah, that's why it's super important to really know your problem and to have one problem you're trying to solve.
All right. So, any more questions, guys? Or are we ready to move to the next part of the talk?
Well, I can move on. Oh, how do you make the existing model interactive? I guess
this is a prototyping question.
Oh, yes. Let me actually show an example. Let me go on my website. Unfortunately, I recently new to designing slides in Figma. So I don't know how to play video in Figma, but let me just share my screen. So I can show you my Discord case study actually. So this is Discord bookmarks, the actual case study. So you can see everything I did here. This is actually my whole project that I presented. That's the example I gave. And so this is the final prototype. And yeah, so this is how it actually looks like when I tested it out with users. And I made it in Figma with a prototype tool. Let me just show you really quick how I did that. And yeah, so that's how I make it interactive. And let me just share my screen in Figma again. Yeah, but basically this is a whole case study. It's very, very long, but it shows you all the iterations. I could drop the link in the chat again so you guys can check it out. And let me just reshare my screen to Figma app. Too many windows open. Present. And so in Figma, this is actually the whole slide deck. In Figma, there's prototype. So you can like link frames together, which are basically artboards. And then I added smart animate and all these toggles so I can make them animate. So right now we are at careers and design. So careers and design is here. And then you can just link them together and you can like basically link screens to each other. And then you can press play here, and then it will run. So now you're at design, we are here, we might play again. And basically, because they're linked together, you can see them. So that's how you make models interactive in Figma.
So yeah, to summarize it, you have to just link the frames together and then let Figma work its magic using smart animators.
Yeah, so setting it up to do in smart animate, but it's really cool to check it out too, and different ways to animate things in Figma. And make sure you're in the prototype tab too on the top right.
Yeah, that's the gist of it. So it's around 10 over here in India. So let's move to the next part of the talk.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so for the next part, I'll start a little bit about my journey. Not this one. Yeah, I'm more used to Zoom, so we're gonna try this. So growing up, you see my slide? Okay, cool. It should be on right now. So growing up, I really want to be an anime artist, actually. That was like my first, ever since I wanted to, as a child, I loved drawing manga. So I actually drew these in high school. I love playing games. I would never really pay attention in class. I was that kid in class who was kind of like the class clown and like distracting people and like yelling at random moments to keep people on their toes. And yeah, I never really liked reading or writing or class at all. And I liked playing games a lot. I loved Animal Crossing, Maple Story, Pokemon, The Sims. And let me know in the chat if you guys like anime or playing games or any of the games I played before. And let me know. And yeah, I really like chloroplast as well. So I have some of these drawings. And I also drew more comics. I never listened in class. I was always doodling and drawing comics and writing stories in class. Nice. I see a lot of anime fans here. I love anime too. Let me know your favorite anime in the chat too. And when I was a junior in high school, so I was about 16 years old, I took this class called AP Biology, and basically advanced biology. And I really loved it. And I thought how cells interact was such a cool story that I decided to draw a manga based on cellular respiration in the cells. And so I have a neuron here, some action potentials going on, some T tubulars and muscles. So how many of you guys like biology? Oh, Attack on Titan is a great one, Rajesh. Oops. Attack on Titan is a great anime too. I love it too. But yeah, so I drew a lot of anime. Love anime like Attack on Titan. Also Sword Art Online and Fairy Tail and things like that. And yeah, so I drew a lot. Love biology. Thought I had a cool story to tell. And I also ran a lot of cross-country track. And I loved biology because I could learn how to basically optimize my body to run faster. And that's why I was really into that. I was really competitive as well. I had dreams to run Olympics, but then later got injured. But that's the story for another day. Naruto and Demon Slayer are also great. The music is also great too. Cool. And I also drew a lot of biology fan art. I would call it fan art for biology, not for anime, but for organelles and organisms itself. I was really a big fan of it, and that's why I majored in bioengineering undergrad, because I loved biology. Yeah, in college, this was me actually freshman year in my dorm, first day of class, ready to go with my Pokemon lunchbox and Rilakkuma in my dorm with my blue sheets. I was a bioengineering major. I had big dream to become a neurosurgeon with an MD PhD while becoming a professional runner, blogger, and motivational speaker. However, I realized I really hated studying. Like I'm working in lab. I was just doing things just to my resume, which is like the worst way to live. And I learned that the hard way. And yeah, so this is what I did. I did a lot of research. I did research in gene therapy, worked with kidney cells, human embryonic kidney cells, stained them so you can see the nucleuses and their reinforcement protein. So basically, I was doing research on gene therapy, ways you can deliver genes as therapy to cells and later humans. My favorite part in lab was not the research itself, but was to taking photos of my cells so I can overlay them in Photoshop and make pretty images like this for publications. And I was always looking forward to going home every day so I can draw and play games and not actually work in lab. So I knew that was not the right career path for me, but I learned a really important lesson that I should not be doing things just for my resume. At the same time, as an escape from school and research, I drew a lot. I still love biology just because I'm a big fan of it. And so this is actually 2016, so I was a sophomore in college. And I drew a lot of fan over cells like the chloroplast and mitochondria, and nucleus and proton, positive cation, things like that. And since high school, I really loved anime and did the biology manga, and then I also did a lot of fan art for anime. I decided to take it the next level and create a whole 3D virtual reality game from anime. So that was Selfie, the game I explained earlier. So this is my junior year. So this was around 2018 time. I was the third year in college and undergrad, where you can become a solid VR. And I want to gamify learning and biology and chemistry and make it look fun. Really, I just want to make a game for fun. And I realized I could make it learning even more fun. And this is actually Selfie. So I'm going to show a really quick demo. Can you guys hear the audio? It's kind of loud. Let me just turn that down. But I have like this. But yeah, this is Selfie. It's inside this chloroplast. Oh, okay, cool. It's just me then. But I just fine. So this is the chloroplast in the cell where photosynthesis happens, and 3D modeled everything except for the character, which you'll see later. And I designed a quest like Proton Bear, very nice Proton, designed all these characters and collect electrons to electron cloud. I did this all for fun in lab, just because I really like biology and games and 3D modeling and working with game engines. And ATP is the energy currency of the cell, so it's the currency of my game. Kill monsters like viruses, learn about this process in a gamified approach. So this was like my big project that year, and it was really, really fun. You have first-person mode, you can see the protons, electrons, interact with them, collect them. And ATP synthase, go in first-person mode as well, build your own islands too. So it's a really open world game where you can become a cell, go inside the cell and explain. Thank you. Yeah, it was really, really fun to make. I modeled everything in Autodesk Maya, and then programmed everything and built everything and assembled everything together in Unreal Engine, which is one of the industry standard game engines. So yeah. And so I learned a lot about game development and games itself. I learned that I'm not limited to my major. I was still a bioengineering major, and what I learned was lab work, but I taught myself how to make a game through the power of the internet, through free tutorials and joining free Discord communities. And thank you. Thank you, Omkar and Ashwin. And I've also learned that not only I'm not bound to my major, I'm also learned how actually products work and how products get developed. Because in school, I was always taught how to study and how to know information, not actually how to ship products. And so this is first taste into shipping products and making a product from idea to final product. And I learned the importance of getting feedback at every single step. I would get my friends to play test, get me feedback, and it's so important for anybody working on any product, whether you're an engineer, designer, anybody, is to test user feedback and finding problems early on so you can solve them before it becomes too late. And then kind of flash forward to summer 2019. So this was between my senior year in grad school. And I interned at Intuitive Surgical. So they're the ones who make the robotic surgery. So how many of you guys in the chat saw the robot sewing together a grape? It's the kind of Da Vinci robot. The robot can do surgery on people. It's pretty cool. I recommend highly checking it out. But I worked for that company and I was an intern. So I made games to train surgeons do surgery, especially. Basically, I did a lot of user research, and it really, really, really interesting. It combined a lot of my interest in surgery early on, and also game design. And so it was really, really cool. Oh, nice. Yes, robots have definitely come a long way. And yeah, definitely. And I also did a lot of concept art design, programming, and also a lot of user testing. And I would say like about 80% of my time, or 80 to 90% of my internship at that summer, was programming. Programming using C# for Unity, and doing on their own company build and testing it out too. So a lot of user testing, a lot of programming. And at the same time, I also started my own art business, because I've always loved art and was also involved in STEM, never one way or the other. And so I've always wanted to table at anime conventions and make merch. So I had to start art business called Candy Leaf Designs, or it's a candy shaped bunny with a leaf on it. Was really into that. Was inspired by nature, pastel, and animals, and these core principles define my art style. And yeah, so this is my bunny logo and then my bunny banner, which I actually hung at conventions. And I always loved biology, so I still have the chloroplast right there. I saw bunny boba, things like that. And this is me tabling at conventions. 2019, before the virus happened, I had this banner and had all my merch down. So it was really, really fun. Got to interact with all sorts of customers, learn more business skills, really learn how to pitch my customers, and really just interact with people. And here's some of the enamel pins. I really love like candy leaves, so like desserts and pastel colors, like a lychee bunny, a mochi cat, a dango cat enamel pin. So they're super, super fun to make. Worked with the manufacturers to make them, and did a lot of mock-ups of my product, and did all design and have my own little watermark in the back. I also worked on a lot of charms, so these are all original art. I have biology, like the red blood cell, DNA, and also boba and bunnies, and cats. I love bunnies a lot. They're a central theme to my life. That's why Design Buddies is also known as Design Bunnies. And I like running, and bunnies run fast, so that's why bunnies have always been a central theme. That's why you see them everywhere in my life. Thank you, Ashwin. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I also have nature-inspired ones too. So I love biology, bunnies, and nature are my inspirations. And I learned a lot from our business. I learned a lot of marketing, understanding trends, and as anybody working in tech, it's super, super important to know what's trending right now, what technologies are new, and also our service, like face-to-face dealing with customers and also communicating with them on social media, things like that. And I learned this really important lesson through freelancing, is to really charge higher and raise my prices and value my work. So this is like another part of my art business, is a lot of freelancing and doing commission work too. So another important lesson I've learned there. And so I actually started Design Buddies. We're actually at 14,000 now. It's another design community. Oh, thank you. Thank you for being part of Design Buddies. I literally founded it April 2020 to make some friends in design, because coming from engineering, my professors told me I should not do design. I should stick with engineering. So I wanted to make some friends. I didn't have any mentors in my real life. So I tried going on the internet and found it hard to connect with people. So I just wanted to make friends. And yeah, in like 8 months, now we have like 14,000 members. And we had so many events inviting industry influencers on, free mentorships, friendships, and everything is free because we're inclusive. So we want to have free resources available for anybody interested in doing design. Just post link to Design Buddies, so y'all can join as well. We're also partnered with Discord itself as one of the top communities on the whole platform, and we're Discord partners. So it's like really, really exciting. And yeah, we really focus on inclusivity, collaboration, and friendships. We also do a lot of meetups on Figma. Actually, it's great. And I learned so much more. I have a whole case study for Design Buddies in link it. Yeah, definitely. Thank you. It's very wholesome. Really appreciate it. And I also actually, it's not selfie, but I meant to update that to like 14K. This is not updated, but this is like a little case study I did for Design Buddies. Thank you. I really focused on needs. Like I noticed there wasn't any like very wholesome design community on the internet. I felt really like an outsider, and I felt like not welcome in other communities just because I didn't study design, because I was not a design major. Other designers in those other communities I was in previously looked down upon me. And so I felt like I didn't feel welcome. So I wanted to create a nice, wholesome place. And that's how I read Design Buddies. Really wanted to be internet-friendly and really listening to their feedback and keep implementing features based on what other people want. And also establishing ground rules, making it a safe space that's inclusive and diverse. and also engaging a lot of events and having a mentorship program. And so I'm going to switch back to my other slides and talk about electronic arts. But really quick, let me go forward a bit. So now I'm going to talk about my transition to design. So after creating design buddies and going to design, I've learned so much more by actually going into design. So this was like end of 2019 when I was finishing up, like second half of 2019 when I was finishing up my internship and to surgical. And then so current life, I'm doing design. And so how I actually started design was actually, I know I mentioned projects and practicing. So this is how I practiced. I took a free online course in design. And I also did a lot of hackathons, design challenges, so total 10 in 2020 for the first half of 2020. Freelance for a YC startup as well, as the first designer for a few months earlier this year, and also start my art business and creating design buddy. So this is essentially what I want to get into design, get experience, and build on my skills for my job at EA. And basically, learn fundamentals, keep working on projects. I've also mentioned that earlier in this presentation too. And also focusing on products that ship. Try to join startups, and since they tend to be a little bit easier to get in, it also depends on the startup too. And just be really hands-on and get to know people, and focus on products that ship, so you can collect pulse on metrics and iterate upon that. Also have something more fancy to put in your resume. And how you want to find a good online course? There's so many online courses out there, and how I would choose one is just making sure it covers the design fundamentals, like cover design thinking, and having a live course also helps as well. Having an instructor giving you feedback and working on a project while taking a course, not just listening to lectures, actually apply what you're doing and getting feedback on that, and also connect with other students working on the same project. And that's how I consider a good course based on my experiences. So that's how I found one. There's so many online courses, but they definitely vary in quality. So I'll definitely look at these 5 properties. And here are some examples of courses. There's like interactiondesign.org, which is the IDF. They cost money though, but there's also free resources like Start UX Design CCs by UX Collective on Medium, The Realist Design, and online course platforms. There's also LinkedIn Ling. If your school might be sponsored, some schools are sponsored by it. Coursera, Udemy, Skillshare, YouTube. So these are definitely YouTube, all free. And so these are places where you can learn design for free. You don't need a degree. I feel like from my experience talking to other designers in the industry, senior designers, directors, VPs, they say that they like hiring people without a design degree because their mind is less focused. They experience something else first and do design. And that's why me studying engineering, it actually honestly helped me get my role at EA, actually without applying, which I'll go through that more too. Thank you, Melvin. Yeah, this is just like the projects I've done along the way. Also, daily UI challenges are also another another extra piece you could have. It's to improve on visual design. So it's like website you can sign up, just search daily UI Google. And then every day you get emailed a prompt. Like you can design like an item customization screen, a scheduling app, leadership board, things like that. And this will help you improve your visual design skills, just designing apps and stuff. So and practicing Figma. So another good challenge to do in your free time. And yeah, I learned a lot by doing design projects. And when I was just starting out on my own without any guidance, I keep iterating feedback, user research and testing, super important, data, validating everything, and having metrics to prove that. Also working with a team, super important, because you do this in the real world, and you get better at your communication skills, and just keep learning. Like always be self-aware. You're never done learning. There's always new things going on, new trends, new best practices, new research theories coming out. So keep an open mind, keep learning. Don't have a fixed mindset, but just keep learning and growing from there to be successful as a designer or anybody working in tech. And yeah, this is Design Buddies. And now I'll talk about my internship search, which is over here. And so I struggled so much when I was applying for internship just because I had like 0 connections in the industry because I was starting from engineering and pre-med. And so I actually sent out 26 applications. Most of it did not get read. And also this is between January 2020 and May 2020, when the pandemic happened, where a lot of my interviews were canceled. And I also got rejected from a few places. And the feedback I got was that I didn't play enough first-person shooters for another AAA game company. And then another one was actually from an app critique. It was how would you redesign the logo of Venmo? Yeah. So this is how I got rejected. Basically, I didn't play enough of their type of games, and I got this really vague question. But how I would actually solve that problem was that this is actually for a FANG company too. I would kind of step back and ask them like, what are you trying to achieve by redesigning logo? Are you trying to improve a business metric? Are you trying to satisfy user goal? Are users getting confused with the logo? Like basically what's wrong with the logo? And narrow down there and help that guide your solution. Because I just said the first solution that came in my head, and it was it was near the beginning of the interview, and you guys took a huge L, and yeah, that was always rejected. It was the final round too, but that was my experience in interviewing and things like that. But for design interviews, let me know in the chat if you're also looking to do design. Otherwise, I can go really quickly through this slide. But these are just the types of interviews that you'll be going through. For behavioral, everybody goes through this for every single job. And for behavior interviews, focus on storytelling your process and how you got to where you're today, what you learned, and how you plan to grow, and things like that. And having a growth mindset, really showcasing that in your behavior interview, super, super important. And especially virtual interviews, I actually created a doc of frequently asked questions, like tell me about yourself, tell me about your greatest accomplishment, and have that open at the same time as you're on your Zoom call and have that in front of you as you're interviewing. That's how I do it for behavior interviews when I'm talking with recruiters and things like that. So you can do the same thing if you're looking for jobs right now too, for anyone in the audience. Yeah, for design, you also have different types of interviews like portfolio reviews, app critique, and design challenges. All have different ways of preparing, but the most common trend is to focus on storytelling and making sure all of your decisions are tied to business goals and user needs and things like that, making everything clear. So yeah, design interviewing, there's like different ways to do it. Different types have different preparation. Yeah, focus on storytelling call. I keep saying storytelling is super, super important to focus on your process because they're trying to know how you think so you can see, so they can tell if you're a good fit for their team. And so now we'll move on to the networking portion over here. And this is how I got my role at EA without applying. It was 100% through networking. Basically having LinkedIn profile, make it complete, getting noticed by recruiters and hiring managers. And little checklist, definitely have all these things, have a complete profile. And these are some examples. This is my profile. I have my name here. I added emoji for fun. I also have a mission statement, experience, school, what I do outside, hobbies, community, speaking engagements, call to action, social media sites if you can find me elsewhere. So yeah, this is how I got really good traffic on my LinkedIn profile by structuring it this way. So LinkedIn is super important if you're looking for jobs as well. So highly recommend that because a lot of recruiters, hiring managers hang out on that platform and they find candidates on that platform. Not only should you be perfecting your profile, you should also be engaging with the community. And so you can either post or you should both post and comment on other people's stuff. So I'd like to do a lot of personal branding. I have a whole talk on personal branding, but essentially I just share a lot of stories, also what I'm working on and interesting books in my life and things like that. And also comment on other people's posts and get on the radar, get to meet people that way too. So social media, connecting with people on LinkedIn. Another great way to get referred to companies as well. So that's ultimately how I got referred to EA without actually submitting an application. And so that's how I personally got connected with the director at EA without actually applying. It was 100% through LinkedIn by doing all of this. Reaching out to people and making a personal connection, basically getting to know their story instead of saying like, hey, I want a job, please talk to me. But instead like knowing their story and connecting as human beings. And so I actually sent 400 connections. So when I was starting out in design, I didn't know anyone. So I sent out 400 connection requests to design directors and senior managers. I filtered by company and location and just like changed their name over here and sent this 400 times over the span of 4 months. Over the span of 2 months. And then I landed 30 coffee chats and 1 job. And I would never ask for a job. I would always just like let them know if they ask. So that's how I basically got into EA, by doing this 400 times and having 1 offer. But different for everybody. I have another friend who sent 2,100 connection requests So it really depends. It's definitely a numbers game. So don't get discouraged if you send a few, don't get responses. Don't worry. Only about 1/4 of the people actually accepted it. Most people didn't reply, and that is okay as well. Just keep moving on because sometimes people are just busy. It's not you, it's them. And so yeah, just keep moving on from there. So that is definitely the secret. That's how I got it without applying, by showcasing my personality. But also to do a lot of work. I also have to make sure that my experiences lined up. And it's never luck. It's all hard work. But anybody can do it too. And just keep meeting people, getting feedback. And after I connect with someone, I would do an informational interview. Basically get to know them. And coffee chat style, find things in common, connect, ask questions, make a friend. People also love talking about themselves, so ask them like, so where does your inspiration come from? Like, how did you get into design? What goals are you working on next? And when I talked to a lot of directors, I learned that they're trying to be VPs, so they're good connections to have too. Things like that. And before you go into information interview, definitely want to prepare ahead of time and look through, deep dive into their profile, look at their experiences, find things in common to ask specific questions. And they're just some of the questions I personally like to ask, like, oh yeah, I see that we both like red cross country track. Like, how are things you learned from sports happen as a UX design director today? Just like ask really specific, non-Googleable questions are really helpful. You get a lot of great insights that can't be found on Google by asking these questions to these professionals in industry. I also like to ask about their favorite projects and lessons learned because it gets me a taste of their company culture as well. What kind of products they work on in that company as a designer to get to know the company as well, and what are their career goals. And I also ask them if I can help out in any way too, just to make it a two-way street, because networking is all about making connections, not a one-way street. So always try to ask them if there's a way that I can help them too. And don't sell yourself. Don't say like, hey, I'm connected with you because I want a referral here. Do not ever do that. People do that to me. I don't even reply. So I'm sure that also happens with other people too. So don't sell yourself. But networking does not always have to happen on LinkedIn. You can join communities such as Discord, like Design Buddies, network with professionals. They have VPs in there too. And you can go to conferences, join Facebook groups, join Slack groups, join Meetup groups. So it doesn't always have to happen on LinkedIn. Also, design Twitter is also popping right now. So Twitter is a good place to meet designers. A more casual space than LinkedIn. And yeah, meet designers that way. And yeah, learned a lot of networking. Don't be afraid to reach out to people for an informational interview. I got rejected a bunch of times or got ghosted, and that is okay. The worst case is no. Just keep reaching out. It's a numbers game. I said 400. My friend sent 2,100 connection requests. And don't ask for a job. And if you ask for a job, you get advice. If you ask for advice, you get a job. So think about that and the way you approach people. And focus on storytelling. The mistake I made before earlier was that like I would introduce myself, be like, hello, I'm Grace. I'm a designer. I run a 14,000 member community called Design Buddies. And I sounded like really salesy that way when I mentioned that number. So instead of saying like I run a 14,000 member community, I say I run a large design community that's partnered with Discord and one of the largest in the world. Things like that. So try not to focus on too much. Don't flex too much on numbers because you're trying to be human here. So that's the mistake I made before because it made the whole introduction kind of awkward after I said that number. And definitely do follow up, keep the connection warm, and thank them for their time. Say Happy New Year to them, and just keep the connection warm. In case you want to reach out to them again and make a new friend. That's what I did. I have like a lot of friends who are directors now because I've just reached out to so many people on LinkedIn and be really human with them and not focusing on connecting with them for the sole purpose of landing a job. And so this is my internship, converting to full-time. We're almost done. In the summer, I previously interned at EA for 6 months before I went on to full-time in December. I did mostly player and employee experience projects and also some design systems work. And throughout the whole typical week, each day is quite different. Each day I'll probably have around 3 to 5 meetings. Each week I have a team all hands, team critique meeting, team happy hour, I play games, sometimes Among Us, one-on-ones with manager and mentors, a lot of meetings to align on projects with product management and engineering teams, and also intern events before ERG or employee resource groups. So internal companies, they have a lot of great resources for employees too. And I learned so much about internships at my internship that helped me land a full-time role. And so I was kept asking why. Like, why is this color this way? Why is this information hierarchy this way? Why is the user going through this step first instead of starting at this step? Like, why is this footer at the bottom, or why is this element in the footer? So just keep asking why to make sure you're designing the correct features, but also improving your thinking skills. Flagging for scalability, making sure that you have all the edge cases covered, asking to help out. So during my internship, if I have more time, if people propose a project to my team, I would say yes. And that's how I got to work on projects designing for virtual events with other directors and senior managers and senior VPs too, being on the radar, working with them to plan all hands meetings on their graphics. So I would say yes to opportunities where I can help out and get more experience that way. I also document all my learnings and accomplishments, which help me negotiate an even higher salary when I move on to full time as well. So have a smile file, meaning all your accomplishments, and document that, and use that as evidence to say that you deserve more money and you have to negotiate. Also, communication is really important. I always like to confirm my action items to do after a meeting, and also networking within the company as well. So confirming that you heard, and it's also sending a follow-up Slack message or follow-up email, really important. And also networking within the company to learn more about what other people do and get potential opportunities as well. I got more opportunities to work with different teams because I did this, connecting with other people in the company. And so when I converted to full-time in December, these are just some factors that I feel that played a really strong role in my intern to full-time conversion. Is that I utilize a lot of storytelling. So I post on LinkedIn a lot. I try to connect with everybody I meet at EA on LinkedIn so they can see my posts. So storytelling, social media. So that's how I got actors and everything to get on my radar, because I was connected with them on LinkedIn. And I saw them like my posts, and because they're the one ultimately deciding budget, allocating budget to me converting to full time. So that's how I suddenly got on the radar, by standing out to people, but using personal branding. And the manager I didn't actually ask for it at first. I didn't know I was going to get the offer so soon. But my manager initiated the offer, and I also negotiated. And negotiation also looks good. Sometimes people look down upon you if you don't negotiate, because it shows that you're not willing to stand up for yourself. So negotiation, don't be afraid of it. Always do it, no matter what. Always ask for more, because it shows that you value your work, and people want to work with people who value their work. And just try it. And highly recommend anybody. Well, negotiation mostly for full-time, because most internships are fixed salary. But yeah, definitely negotiate. And there's a lot of tips online as well. But basically, as I mentioned before, document all of your learnings, all your accomplishments, and use that as evidence. Use that as persuasion. So use that as evidence of why you deserve better, why you deserve more stock options, why you deserve a higher salary, or higher hourly rate, or why more bonuses. You can also negotiate stock options, RSUs, more bonuses, not just salary, and more benefits as well. So always negotiate. It's a huge thing. And often people skip it, but highly recommend everybody keep negotiating to get even more money and get what they deserve. And yeah, these are some resources to learn design. I can also share. You really take a screenshot of this, but these are just like databases of resources, of design resources. So definitely check these out. These are super helpful. All these are also from Design Buddies, from the FAQ New to Design channel. So definitely join Design Buddies, check out the channel, and I pulled all my resources from there, because that channel is actually crowdsourced. So everybody from Design Buddies added their favorites in. So it's a whole compilation of everyone's favorite resources, including mine. Applications, love Figma, Notion, Miro, and Discord. Favorite apps to work as a designer. And lastly, I'll end with this last info slide for my life lessons. I learned basically, don't be afraid to take risks. Like in my life, I was always thought I had to go into STEM or like go into engineering. But the worst case is you fail, you learn. If you never try it, then you never learn. So we never really lose anything. And don't listen to people who tell you can't accomplish something. Like I had professors telling me to stay in my lane, high design. And these are like bioengineering professors who knew nothing about design, nothing about software engineering. And you know yourself better. They don't know you, and they should, because they don't know you more than you do, they should not be the one making a decision for you. And also balance is very, very important, and making sure you don't burn out. So do something that makes you happy every day. That's not related to work, unplug, and things like that. I like to run, so that's my balance. And so yeah, this concludes my presentation. I'll be taking any questions now, and you are welcome to connect with me on any of my social media platforms. And I'll drop the links below, so you can just click on them too. Yeah, feel free to connect and then join Design Buddies.
So guys, if you have any questions related to internships, this is ready to take them. How to land an internship or how to network. I think she's done a
Hmm.
fantastic job with networking with people, and that's what's actually gotten her to in this position. So yeah, feel free to
Yeah.
ask anything from her.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a question. If
Hmm.
until people
Yeah,
come
go
up with
ahead.
their questions, yeah. So how does one leverage communities for their personal goals? How do you grow inside of a community?
Like grow inside of a how let me turn my volume real quick. How do you leverage a community for personal growth?
Yep.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah. Hmm.
and how do you actually make your stance in a community? Like how do you become a community leader in that
Oh,
any
okay.
community?
Yeah, great question. So I would just like engage in conversations, and I oftentimes I
Mm,
lurk a lot too. I see what other people are sharing, what other people are talking about, and it's how I get aware of trends. And yeah, so I also ask a lot of questions, so that's why I can directly engage with other designers to know
mm,
their thoughts on something, to know get their feedback, and just like interact with people and make and just like learn from interaction, like get feedback from people, learn about the latest trends and things I should be aware of and ask for feedback. I also ask questions. Like that's how I learned how to negotiate. I have a lot of mentors who are also in design buddies who helped me
mm.
along the way to come up with my plan. They gave me the confidence to negotiate. So I make friends in the community, and they also support me, and I support them too. So not only do I learn more, by leveraging their knowledge as well, I also share my own knowledge and bounce off each other. But we also support each other, and that's why communities are so huge because you can share knowledge, not just like googling things and have it one sided, engaging people and also having people who support you and you support them too. That's how I can leverage communities for personal growth.
Got it.
And the second question with the leadership one,
Mm,
yeah. So for me, so my experience, I've never in high school, I've never really led any student clubs, and in college, I was part of a few orgs, but not really involved in leadership. I was just mostly doing my
mm,
own thing. And then in how I actually started community building was actually at the Grace Hopper conference in 2019. I was a very shy person, very introverted, very scared of strangers, very scared of people. And
mm.
I always wanted, so as a cross country track athlete, I've always liked making myself uncomfortable because you find growth in the uncomfortness. And so
Life lesson.
yeah,
Life
I
lesson right
applied
there.
that. Yeah, I applied that to my life. And so I talking to strangers and putting myself out there made me very, very uncomfortable. But I kept doing it over and over again. And so at Grace Hopper Conference 2019, I posted in the Grace Hopper Facebook group saying
Mm.
that, oh, create a party hopping chat, like find friends to go to parties with at the conference. And like that chat had like 800 people in it. And so I just
Oh,
meet up with people, start community building, managing that chat. Also, I just wanted to crowdsource party invites, and that's why. But at the same time, I met a lot of people and just like in real life from all countries in the world and put myself out of my comfort zone and learn how to interact with people. And then I also took that home and then
mm,
did local meetups at my local community. There's this group called Subtle Agents Bay Area in Silicon
mm.
Valley. And so I would just like have coffee. I would just like post in that group, say, oh yeah, I'm studying here, coffee shop this time, come through. Let's study together and meet hundreds of people that way. Um,
Wow.
strangers to me in real life studying in the coffee shop. So yeah, I also met up with local artists. I started attending like conventions, reached out to people like, hey, I like your art. Let's connect. Let's be join my group chat so we can have art meetups. And yeah,
Wow.
just like wanted to come out there. And then pandemic happened. So this is from October 2019 to
Mm.
March 2019, and I was doing all these crazy meetups, not crazy, all these meetups in real life. And then the pandemic happened. I was like, oh, it's so sad. And then I was like, okay, I'll take all the energy I have, all this momentum, and do a design community. And that's how I got
Mm.
design buddies. But before I was so
Wow.
scared of people, I was like, if I'm not uncomfortable right now, then I'm not growing. So every day I try to do something that makes me uncomfortable. And that's how I become a leader in my community.
Got it. Super insightful of keeping how to keep yourself moving every day. That's how you
And
grow.
also really understanding your people and really, so I actually lead a team of 12 core admins and 40 moderators, and
Mm.
I really try to get to know my team and get to know what each individual and what they want and what their strengths and weaknesses are and what they want to work on, and help
Mm.
them just assign them different tasks and different roles, and just like basically teamwork and balancing your strengths and weaknesses, create products and creating community too. So that's also another thing to do, really listening and having a lot of empathy for people as a leader.
Uh, so Onkar has a question. How do you resolve different opinions when working in teams? So this
Yeah.
would be happen a lot in UX, UI UX
Mhm.
teams, right? Okay, one team member wants to go with A option, the other wants to go with B. Then you got to
Mhm.
look at the data again, and the data is like almost similar. So what do you do in that case when difference
Oh
of
yeah, I
opinions are
would
there?
actually get more data. So for me personally, I know other people might have different ways to do it, but I
Hmm.
like to so I not only do I have to collect data from the users saying like, oh, option A actually users were able to complete this task faster,
Hmm.
or like understand this app better, and like they or like this app better, um, or or if they're really similar to option B and they're very similar, I would say I would like bring in some research. Let's just say option A uses like this slightly different color, maybe like this color theory, like because they use more blue, and our brand is trying to the company. I know this is like very very abstract, but like let's just say
Hmm.
option A uses more blue, and the company is trying to get their customers to trust them more, and blue means trust, so color theory, and to say like, oh,
Right.
this is like tying in the bigger picture how things can align to the overall company mission in case the data doesn't work out is what I would personally do. For example, I do this at EA,
Hmm.
like their goal is to become more inclusive in games. So like I'll say, oh, this option is more accessible because of this and this and this, because of this hierarchy, people easy to understand, things like that. So tying in the bigger picture of the overall mission helps you align across different opinions in the team.
Got it. Hope that answers the question, Onkar. Do you want a water break? Because
Oh no,
you've been
I'm
speaking
good.
for almost, you've been
No, I'm good.
speaking for
I've
almost
done
an hour.
this all day. Yeah.
All right. So Melvin asked, what's the current issue and trends in the field I should be know or aware of?
Yeah, I feel like definitely trending is VR, AR technologies. I feel like
Hmm.
I've been seeing more and more 3D design coming up, and I feel like that's a really cool field to get into. Also, gaming. Gaming is getting really more popular because people are at home, and the games market, EA stock especially, has exploded.
Yeah.
And also green energy, like Tesla stock. So AR, VR, games, green energy, also accessibility and inclusive design. Because I feel like as society, people, especially in America, they're
Hmm.
really thinking about ways you can be more inclusive and thinking of how we can design for people with disabilities and like visual, motor, or hearing impairments and things like that. So color contrast and making sure your design things are accessible is super important to consider these
Got it.
days. And just being aware. I like to like join communities. I like read all of the articles shared there. Um,
Hmm.
and be aware of these trends too.
Right. So accessibility and AR, VR and game dev. Three
Yeah,
major things to look out for.
yeah. There's always new
So,
design tools, things like that.
hmm. So any more questions, guys?
Yeah, it also depends on your industry too. I'm sure if you're
Hmm.
anyone into like fintech, I don't know anything about fintech, but I'm sure there's other trends there too. So, um, but in design definitely includes inclusivity and also AR VR. Like a lot of I feel like in that field, like 3D design and game design is
Hmm.
having more and more jobs and stuff opening up.
So I think AR is going to get a big push because Apple is kind of betting on that tech, and if Apple gets
Oh,
behind something, then obviously they've put some thought into it. The management has taken a look into the number, so I think AR is going to be big within the next 2 or 3 years after most
yeah,
companies
for
start
sure.
adopting it.
Yeah, and like the picture update, the 3D
Hmm.
icons and the like skeuomorphism. So I definitely think that
That's the thing. It's going
yeah,
to be a new segment opening up. You would instead of designing 2D, will be designing like having
yeah,
objects all around us. That will be insane.
yeah. That's the next dimension.
So that's how I see UI/UX getting evolved from just being a 2D layout, 2D interaction to a 3D one.
Yeah, very exciting. Cool. Yeah, you're welcome. Definitely, we're always hosting events for Design Buddies, Ashton. And so, yeah, we're always down to host events with other communities. Melvin says, do you prefer Volcreen solo or as a team? Definitely as a team, um,
Mm.
because I can bounce off ideas off people. I also give feedback to other people too. And you always want feedback as a designer, so making sure
Right.
you're designing the right thing. Never ever design in a silo. Um, But yeah, so always in tech, you always work on a team. But on the team, I always get downtime. So work time is solo. That's what I prefer. Like heads down work time is something that everybody kind of does in the company too. But generally as a team on projects in general.
Got it. So Grace, thank you so much for this talk. It's been a roller coaster. We started off with learning more about your UX, then we talked about your journey, and after that we got to hear on networking hacks, which are pretty secretive. And yeah, you kind of gave us insight into the UX designer as well. So that's a plus. It's been a total roller coaster, ton of value. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I try to follow this description on the Instagram post, so yeah.
So yeah, so guys, do go follow Grace everywhere, and do join Design Buddies if you're into design to learn more. From what I've heard, from what I've seen by being on a server, it's complete cool lo-fi kind of vibe to the server. So
thank you.
Feel free to hop on.
Yeah, it's very, very wholesome. Hope you guys enjoy Design Buddies.
So yeah, that's it. That's it for today's session. So yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of the day and happy Monday.
Oh yeah, it's actually Sunday for you. This is actually 8 p.m. if I'm right. 8 p.m., 9 p.m. for you in
9 p.m. Yeah.
Thank you for doing this. Thank you for taking time off on your Sunday and talking
of
to
course.
us.
I prefer things on weekends, anyways, just because I have more time, no work today. So yeah, you're welcome. Thanks y'all for coming. I'm really happy that you guys all enjoyed it.